My Lords, it's a pleasure to follow the Noble Lady, Baroness Bakewell of Hardington Mandeville, to thank her for securing this debate and for setting out many important points. As the Noble Lady said, we are up to our necks in plastic. The previous government in 2020 banned plastic straws, stirrers, spoons and cotton buds. That's nothing to be proud of. It's like trying to use a toothbrush to clean up the planet. And it's easy to hold the previous government at fault for the failure to progress plastic recycling, whether on the slow processing of reducing the use of plastic packaging and optimising the design of packaging for recycling, slow process on domestic collection, on domestic recycling provision, and on the failure to regulate the wild west of export of materials for so-called recycling. And I do hold the previous government responsible. I meet so many people who ask, what happened to the bottle deposit scheme? And quite a few who still remember the £20,000 donation from the Wine and Spirits Trade Association to the Conservative Party just before it used the Internal Markets Act to kill Scotland's well-advanced scheme. But while this is a long story of regulatory failure, not to mention the underfunding of the local authorities who have to deal with the mess created by giant multinational companies profiting from the use of dangerously toxic polluting materials, there is a more fundamental problem on which I want to focus, which is that plastics are a material that simply do not fit within the model of a circular economy, which is, of course, the absolute necessity if we are to live within the boundaries of this terribly fragile, terribly poisoned planet. Glass can be recycled indefinitely. Steel can be recycled indefinitely. Aluminium can be recycled indefinitely. Even paper can be recycled 5 to 7 times. But plastic, well, effectively, it can only be downcycled. Even to get to that, plastics have to be sorted by colour and type, washed and shredded up. These processes burn large amounts of fossil fuel, produce waste, including large quantities of the micro and nanoplastics that are now polluting all of our bodies, and contaminate water. Then they are most often turned into items of lesser value and quality. For example, plastic water bottles go to fleece jackets or to carpet fibre. Why is that? Well, because newly made plastic can have some 16,000 different chemicals added to it. Used plastic can have residues of pesticide, biocides, pharmaceuticals and other toxic chemicals. So when it is used for food purposes, it's usually mixed with virgin plastics to dilute the toxicity. I'd point Noble Lords to a study in the Journal of Hazardous Materials from 2022, which showed how antimony and well-known endocrine-disrupting chemicals, particularly bisphenol A, migrate out of particularly recycled PET drink bottles into the products they contain. And we might think about how long even those downcycling possibilities will be around. As our understanding of the human and environmental health threats posed by microplastics and nanoplastic grows, who will actually want to wear a jacket shedding plastics into the air around their nose and mouth? Who will want to have their baby crawling over a plastic carpet, breathing in all those toxins and fibres it's producing? Now, that's on the individual scale. Going back to the planetary scale, we have choked this planet with more than 10 billion tonnes of toxic plastic. About 460 million tonnes of plastic are being produced annually, and the fossil fuel merchants are aiming to treble that by 2050 as the market for their products as a fuel fast fades away. So my question to the Noble Lord the Minister is, what is the government going to do, both domestically and diplomatically, to stop this taking of carbon out of the very long-term storage in which nature put it and eventually, inevitably, pumping it into our already overheated air? Now, this is something that's only being magnified by a new wheeze of so-called advanced recycling, sometimes called chemical recycling. There's nothing advanced about using heat or chemicals to melt down plastic to downcycle it into petrochemical products, very likely to eventually be burned as more dirty fossil fuel energy. It's time, and I would ask the government to focus on the producers of this toxic material. The noble lady Baroness Bakewell spoke about educating consumers, but very often consumers have no escape but to buy items in plastic, and that's the responsibility of the producers and the retailers, not the consumers. I note a report from the Centre for Climate Integrity from 2024 who just lists the number of lies that plastic companies have been saying over decades, claiming their products are recyclable, claiming their products are not harmful. And I'm going to finish by looking at both ends of the plastic journey. A train derailment in East Palestine in Ohio 2 years ago highlighted the damage being done by just one of the many toxic materials that go into making plastics, generally in poorer communities. And at the other end, as the noble lady Baroness Bakewell said, it's going to global south countries where people are being poisoned. Finally, I'm going to say, recycling is, when we look at the waste pyramid, a very poor solution. It's the third choice. It should only be used when reducing the use of material or reusing the products has proved absolutely impossible. Not when it's slightly less convenient or slightly less profitable, but simply not possible, which means the vast majority of plastic products on our retail shelves today should not be there. We should not be looking to recycle them. We should be looking to get rid of them. What is the government going to do to get us to that crucial goal?
It's a pleasure to follow the noble Baroness Bennett of Manor Castle, and I must congratulate my noble friend Baroness Bakewell of Hardington Mandeville for securing this debate, but